My name is Jonathan Gillum.
And this is The Experts. This is Jonathan Gillum, and this is The Experts on Facebook Live, Twitter, and YouTube. And tonight, of course, we're going to talk about the NFL. I mean, you can't not talk about the NFL right now. And also about Anthony Weiner getting jail time. There's a few other things we'll talk about. That's all I had room to list on the title of this, but we're going to get started. And I also just got a text message from somebody. I got to look into this, but they're saying that what's his name from the Pittsburgh Steelers had to apologize. Now, I don't know if that's true, but I'm definitely going to look into this because this is absolutely ridiculous if it is true. So I'm going to search that while we start the show and look for it on YouTube and see what we can find here. But this stuff's out of control. We're going to discuss this and more. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. Tweet, share, get everybody on this show tonight. This is going to be a good show. Let's do it. How many of you are prepared for an incident like this? Get my new book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival, and I will teach you to think like an attacker so you can truly defend yourself. Don't just react, act. Available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Sheep No More. Get it. I'm just so bothered by all this stuff. It doesn't seem like I'm like almost agitated to the point where when I almost punched my computer screen there a second ago because I just can't handle. It's like everybody's so angry right now, and I'm just tired of everybody. I'm just tired of the anger myself. I don't know about you guys, but I'm sick of it. I'm sick of all this nonsense. I'm sick of the loudmouths. Listen, this country. I'm not just going to let the liberals off on this one. I am, and make sure that you share in this. Our shares have been down recently on YouTube, on Twitter. If you watch this show, whether you like it or not, retweet it. At least people be getting a chance to have some dialogue on here. But I'll tell you something. I'm sick and tired of people thinking that they know everything when there is no difference between 40 years ago or 50 years ago when the internet didn't even exist, okay? There's no difference in the majority of stuff that most people know now versus what they knew then, okay? You may be more knowledgeable in 2 + 2 = 4, or you may understand more about the world. You may have traveled a little bit more. You may have friends on Twitter that are all over the place, and may know about breaking news as it happens. But the majority of stuff that you see and that you deal with on a daily basis, that you see in the news, for instance, North Korea, the NFL, communism, any of this stuff, okay, the majority of it you know nothing about. I was in the federal government. I served in the FBI. I did all, I was privy to a lot of this stuff. But guess what, folks? I don't know half of what I wish I knew. The difference is I know that I don't know it. And I have a background so I can kind of, look into these things with an experienced, educated background in these fields. But the majority of people in this country, and in this world for that matter, but in this country, they don't know. They don't know. That is what is driving me crazy about the NFL, about North Korea, about healthcare, about all these things. most of the people just don't know. They just where do all these people get this amazing knowledge from that they think all of a sudden that they didn't have it, a year ago or 2 years ago, and you're going to tell me all these people that the Russian thing is real, Hillary Clinton is innocent, 9/11 was an inside job, all these weird things like this, right? You don't know this. You're going off of stuff that you speculate on, or because you've been told a half-truth, or because people tell you what you want to hear. Look, let's start with 9/11, for instance. Was 9/11 an inside job? I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I don't know. And you don't know either. So to say that, yes, this was an inside job, you don't know that. Okay, there's evidence to show there were some weird things going on there. I think from an investigator standpoint, if we were to look at all the evidence, I think more likely than not, globalists and people that have a lot of money, that hate the Constitution, they hate the freedom of the middle class in the United States because we're so powerful, they can't just jump in there and control things, right? We've thrown America is like Donald Trump. We threw a monkey wrench in the way that the globe did things and 240 years ago, and it just threw a whole monkey wrench into this stuff. So the globalists hate us. The communists hate us. Communism's been around for actually Marxism has been around for as long as the United States has been around, pretty much. Maybe a little bit after, but right around the same amount of time. There was communism. You could trace it back to ideals of it for a long time, but Marx kind of perfected the whole thing. That was in the 1840s. So the reality is the United States kind of progressed and got past, the way that the rest of the world, we kind of started to accelerate past them. Communism was actually developed over in Europe as well, and it didn't take it long to get over here. It's been over here for a long time. But when we look at like 9/11, for instance, everybody wants to blame everything on the government. The government did this. The government did this on the inside. Listen, the reality is when it comes to our government, having worked in the government, and most people that have worked in the government could tell you, it's very hard to keep secrets about things that are nefarious. If you're wanting to do something that's honorable for the country and you have a secret operation going on, people are very good at that. They're tasked with it. But by nature, when you look at something that is nefarious, it's nefariously created, well, guess what? That means it's going to have nefarious people involved. And those types of people are not good at keeping secrets. Honorable people are good at keeping secrets. Nefarious people are the worst at it. So, which is why, look at Facebook. Facebook, for instance, and YouTube, and even Twitter to not to some extent, even Twitter. They censor conservatives. They censor people who don't say what they want to be said. But it's nefarious. It goes against our constitutional rights. It goes against our values more than the constitutional rights. These are private companies. Ultimately, they can pretty much do what they want, although they do come under the FCC rules, and I think there should be some pressure on them to not censor. That I think American people have not exploited enough for that. But by and large, when they censor, it's a nefarious act, and so it's very difficult to keep that secret. People are going to realize it's nefarious. You're going to have somebody that gets angry from that company. They're going to go out and tell people about it, or they're going to brag. These weirdos that work for these different companies, they brag about this stuff all the time. So you see, folks, just like the reach on this show, right? It goes from 1 million 1 month down to like 5,000, I think we had, where you reach certain amount of pages, but yet our views are the same. So that doesn't make any sense. That means that the company itself at Facebook is not pushing this show, or they shut something off, or they're just lying about the numbers to try to get me to pay for, to boost my program. Either way, these are lies, and they're censoring. The same thing on Twitter, same thing on YouTube, and those lies get out. But in the government, good people don't keep lies. They may protect information, but if somebody's lying, there's eventually going to be a whistleblower. there's never been a whistleblower about 9/11. So, why am I bringing 9/11 up out of all this stuff? Because it's, it's one of these things that people feel strongly about, and quite frankly, I think there's plenty of evidence to show that globalists were involved, probably the same people that are funding all the other things that seem to be crashing in this country and around the globe at this point in time. Do I think that Islamic fundamentalists did 9/11 on their own? It could have been done. I don't think, though, based on the things that I've seen and the training that they got and the questions that were not asked, I think that probably they were funded by other people. The plan was worked out, and things just happened. Some things were allowed to happen. Let's push that to the side. Okay, when it comes to Hillary Clinton and the Russians and Trump and the Russians, from an investigative standpoint, I see much more evidence that Clinton has a huge relationship with the Russians. She's the one that sold all these uranium rights to the Russians. Barack Obama and the Communist Democratic Party, they have had long relationships with the Russians and with all kinds of other nefarious people around this world. How do you think the Clintons made their money? They made their money for a pay for play, where people would pay them to have speeches and they would get things done inside their country. That's what the Clinton Foundation was about, and the Clinton Global Initiative is about, all that stuff. You didn't see the world changing because the Clintons did the same thing that the NFL and its corrupt players are doing now. They go around and give speeches. They make a butt ton of dollars, millions of dollars, to the point where if you gave me $1 million, I could have gone down to Haiti and done more than they ever did with the money that they made through that. When you look at these NFL players, what do? They go and take a knee with a communist. I know I use that word a lot, folks, but I'm going to continue to use it because until you understand what's going on, you're going to be snowed, right? And so the NFL, these players, you don't see them taking their millions and going. And I don't want to hear people defending individual NFL players. I don't care anymore. I don't care. Yes, they do great deeds, right? They do great deeds. And they should just go ahead and earn their money and keep their mouth shut and not take part in this and keep doing what they're doing. Good on them. But by and large, the NFL is ran, according to my friend Burgess Owens, who was a Super Bowl champion. He was with the Raiders, with Denver Broncos, and he was with the New York Jets. He says that the NFL Owners Association is made up of white elitists who are communist. That's coming from me. That's coming from a Super Bowl champion, who in himself is not a racist. He is black. He's got, 9 kids or something, devout Christian. Why? He has no reason to lie to me. He has no reason to lie to you. You don't see the NFL taking their millions and going into the inner city to fix things. You don't see the NFL where they build these people up into heroes, and then they allow certain things to be advertised, other things you can't wear on the uniforms because you'll get penalized for it. They won't let Tim Tebow bow. A Muslim actually got fined for praying to his God after a touchdown, but yet they'll let these people take a knee and they won't say anything. They will fine players for wearing 9/11 tribute emblems on their shoes, I believe it was, but yet Colin Kaepernick came out there with cops, or a pig with a cop uniform on, calling cops pigs, which is another one of these communist tactics, and yet they didn't say anything about that. You see, what I'm trying to show you, and this knucklehead that wanted to listen, sometimes I'll debate you. You want to come on my Facebook page and throw something out there? If I think it's worthy of debate, I'll debate you on it, or on Twitter. But by and large, if you come at me with some ridiculous, stupid thing, I'm just going to call you what you are, which is typically a loser or stupid, and a communist, and I'll move on. But I spent some time trying to show this individual with some of the stuff that I was talking about when I hosted Sean Hannity's radio show last week, and it was impossible to convince this person of the truth. Every time they would come back, and this is what they do, the people on the left, they come back and they say, well, you didn't answer my question. What about racism? What about this? I'm like, dude, I did answer your question. I just didn't give you the answer that you wanted. The reality is Racism is not on the rise in this country. Police are not shooting black people at a massively high rate. None of that stuff is true. I could go on down the line. Women are not oppressed in this country. Gays are not oppressed in this country. Here's the facts, folks. Listen to me very carefully. Are there individuals that are oppressed? Absolutely. Absolutely. Is there discrimination and racism in this country? It exists. It's always going to exist. In the words of Yuri Brezmenov, gosh, I wish that guy was still alive. I'd love to have him on this show. A propaganda expert for the KGB that defected and grew up in the rich group and the leader group of Russia in USSR, couldn't take it anymore when he saw the reality of what was going on. He left. He got somehow got to the United States, debriefed with them, lived in Canada for a long time. But he talks in his videos that you can watch on YouTube. He talks about the reality of subversion, and he talks about the reality of who these people are and how they work. And you should listen to this guy, because one of the things that he talks about is the way that people and these different divisive things, they don't exist in a country as much as they take one particular incident and they blow it up and magnify it through propaganda, through celebrities, through protests, and all these things to make these problems look way worse than they are. He said himself, there is no such thing as equality. There just isn't. There's equal opportunity, in which case, an equal opportunity doesn't mean that everybody's going to get a chance. Equal opportunity, true equal opportunity, means that everybody has the ability to go out and make something of themselves. It doesn't mean that you're going to get to be a SEAL. It doesn't mean that you're going to get to be a stockbroker. It means that you're free to go out and look at all those things and say, I would like to be that. Okay, go study it. Go see what it's all about. Do you have a talent with math? Because that's what stockbroker is now. It's more tech guy than it is money guy. No? Okay, are you good at picking up logs and shooting guns? Okay, maybe you should go try out the military. The point is, you live in a free society. You're free to explore. And then once you decide what you want to be, you're free to figure it out. How you get in there, what do you got to do, how do you excel, how do you be your best? That's true freedom. That's true equal opportunity. This whole thing about equality and fairness is made up. What it does, what it ends up doing, is it ends up, just like affirmative action, discriminating against others based on some made-up thing. You can't judge people on the color of their skin. I don't think you should, by the way, personally. But the government says you can't judge people by the color of their skin. Okay, great. What do they turn around and do? They judge people by the color of their skin. They say, you're white. You can't have this job. This job is only seeking minorities. And what's a minority? It's somebody who the structure of their body is determined by the color of their skin or the location that they're from. What is the difference? There's no difference. These are fake fixes. They are not realistic ways to effectively make things as opportunistic as they can be so that people can go out and seek to be the best that they can be. What they do is they choose to pick people based on the color of their skin, their gender, or their sexuality, not based on whether or not they can do a job effectively. That is racism. That is oppression. It's oppression on other people. I've even seen it, the cases where, a person with dark skin felt like they were qualified, and they were qualified for this job, but they didn't get it. Why didn't they get it? Because it was only open, the job was only open because of quotas, only open for a black woman or for a woman in general. You see, there's always going to be people oppressed if the government gets involved and tries to regulate things like you have to pick this person based on skin color, instead of saying, listen, it's your company, you pick people based on who's best for the job. We have nothing to do with that. And then if somebody comes to him and says, I am fully qualified for this job, and not only would they not see me, but they called me a dirty word, or they made it quite evident that they didn't want me there, listen, that's racism. That's where the government can step in and say, listen, we can't make you take a person that's qualified for the job, but you cannot specifically exclude a person just simply based on the color of their skin. You see where there's a big difference there, but that's not what they do. They don't go out to companies and pass laws saying that you cannot not look at somebody because of the color of skin. They go out and they pass laws and policies saying that you must look at this person because of the color of skin, and you must discriminate against that person because of the color of their skin. See, that's what happens when the government gets involved. Now, I know I started with 9/11. I'm all the way over here on this thing, but this is what it all boils down to, folks. There is so much, and pardon my French, I don't like to curse, but there are so many shitty, that's the only way I can say it, shitty policies out there and laws that have been created for no other reason but to oppress in a covert manner. But they've been made to divide people in a covert manner. They never clean up the inner city. Why is that? Because you can simply send a movie star or a football player or somebody to take a knee and say, you're being oppressed. And they'll say, well, dadgummit, I am being oppressed. I'm poor and I don't have anything. And that guy over there, he has everything, right? They've never gotten up and tried to continue to push forward no matter what and make something of themselves in the inner city. A lot of these people. Doesn't matter. Some people have a terrible time getting out of poverty. I know. I grew up poor. I showed this picture before. It's like one of the houses I grew up in right here. That's it. It had roof and plastic on the windows, but that's where we grew up. 4 kids, my mom and my dad. I know poverty. But just like poverty can be used, color can be used, sexuality or gender can be used. Do you think that these congressmen and senators give any care in the world about whether or not a transgender person is allowed to use the bathroom? They don't care about that at all. What they're doing when they go and they try to pass these policies and start these protests about this stuff, they are using that to divide all of us. That's what they're doing. They're not. It has nothing more to do with it than that. Now, I started talking about the 9/11, how people are conspiracy all over the place. I then went to the whole Clinton issue, the color issue, all these different things that are used to divide you. There's 2 things happening here. There's active groups that are actively trying to deceive you into believing that there's a problem here. Right? I met people who was a Blue Angel who had dark skin. I've met people who were celebrities on the radio. I fill in for David Webb all the time. He's got dark skin. There's people on the news that have dark skin that are extremely talented and successful. There's millionaires that have dark skin. There's Latino millionaires. One of the richest people in the world is a guy that is a cable guru down in Mexico. Look, you can be successful. These things are created by these active groups to go out and make you all get into a fuss about nothing. And that's how they divide. One of the things that Yuri Bezmenov talks about when in subversion is when somebody goes to punch, instead of sitting there and taking the punch, and trying to hit back, you lean back. This is all jiu-jitsu. You grab, as the guy punches you, you grab the arm and pull, and you use their momentum to pull them down to the ground. That's what they're doing. They're building the momentum. They're building the hatred. They're building. Why do you think healthcare is a big issue? Do you think healthcare is a big issue because they want to fix healthcare? No. Healthcare is a big issue because they know it's a divisive issue. They know that there's people in this country that drastically need health care. And the less they have it, the more they can exploit that. They know that Obamacare was a way to pad their pockets and continue to use this as a way to divide the country. They don't care up in Washington, D.C. The ones that care are the active people that are out there subverting this country. That is a fact. Now, what's the other group? I said there's two groups here. The other group is you. You're going to argue with me, as somebody who's educated in the field of unconventional warfare and tactics, worked for 4 agencies, so I've seen the failures of politics, spent time up in Washington, D.C., both in the Democratic and Republican parties. It was just a day, but I saw, you cannot even imagine what I saw in that day. There's people that will argue with Gorka, who just left the White House. There's people that will argue with cops who work every day in the inner city, and these people have dark skin. They've never lived in the inner city. They don't know what's going on. You people, the United States citizenry, here's the problem. You take this for gospel. Whatever you're told, whatever's put on your computer screen, whatever somebody reads off a teleprompter, you take it and you say, that's knowledge, I have it now, and I know more than that person. Bull crap. Most of it's lies. Half-truths at best. And the fact is, you don't know anything if you stop where people tell you something. You have to go further. You have to research it. You have to find out to see if it's true or not. If you're not doing that, you're stupid. There's no difference between a stupid person that knows nothing and a stupid person that knows half of everything. You still don't know the truth. In fact, a person that knows half of everything or a quarter of everything is going to assume that they know the rest of it. And that is where the real danger comes. Because somebody that knows nothing but is seeking the truth, their eyes are open, and they will see, as things are told to them, whether or not it adds up. But when you get a little bit of something, you start to say, well, I know that I've got this many ingredients. I might as well just throw some other stuff in there, and I'm going to have a cake. Well, if you use, you have eggs and whatever else goes in a cake, and you say, I don't know what else goes in a cake. I bet cat litter would work well. You're going to come out with a pretty stinky cake. It's not going to be good at all. I don't know what you'd make. If you stick by the recipe, you don't know how to make a cake, you say, give me the recipe. And somebody gives you these 3 things. You say, okay, is that everything I need? No, there's other things. Well, tell me what it is. Let me go research it. I'm going to get online. I'm going to start researching it. And finally, you find out all the ingredients for a cake. You make a cake. It's a beautiful cake. It tastes good, feels good. You love to eat it. You have some left over. You put it in the freezer. You pull it out, eat it later. It's great. But if you just get a little bit of that information, eggs and sugar, and you're like, what else goes in a cake? Well, I read it online. It said eggs and sugar were in cake, and that looks cool. Well, let's see. I'm going to open up a can of beans. I'm going to throw some bananas in there and maybe some protein shake, and then I don't know what else so do we have inside this apartment. I'll throw some beer in there. You're not going to have a cake. You're going to have a bowl of yuck. You're not going to want to eat it later, put it in the freezer and freeze it. None of that stuff. It's going to be gross. Nobody's going to want it. And that's what you're left with. When you take for gospel what the media tells you, what politicians tell you, what I tell you, and then you don't go research it to find out more for yourself, what happens? You end up getting angry. You end up getting in arguments with people and lose friends over it because you take a stand. I'm taking a stand on this Russian stuff. I'm taking a stand on Clinton. Clinton, is not evil, and the Russian stuff, it must be true with Trump because I heard somebody on CNN lay it all out for me. And then if you do even a fraction of research, first thing you find out is that person that you heard on CNN that was talking about it is somebody that worked in a campaign one time and graduated college. That's all they've ever done, which is maybe less than what you've done. What is happening here, folks, is that we are in far worse position than we would have been 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years ago if communism came in and tried to subvert us. Because back in the day, people didn't, there was always going to be narcissists and psychopaths, but back in the day, by and large, people knew their place. They knew, I only know this much. That person knows more. They said, okay, I want to get a job. I'm going to do this skill set, and I'm going to be really good at it. And that's what they did. They didn't long to be famous. They went and watched movies of people who were famous, or actors or actresses. Now, what do you have? You have millions and millions and millions of people that believe that they know more than anybody else because they read or they read a sentence or a meme, or they watch television or a video on here, and they think that they know everything because of that. Just like you're making that crappy cake, they're making crappy decisions, having crappy arguments, having debates, defending something that they know nothing about and half of which they've made up. That's exactly what people who want to destroy the United States are looking for. They're looking for ways that they can actively, out in the open, bring all this stuff. They're not trying to hide it. It's not. There are covert things that they're doing. People in place that say they're one thing and they're another. But this whole taking knee stuff has nothing to do with Trump. If Trump hadn't have said what he said, that those sons of bitches should be fired, his words, and that these coaches should fire these people, if he hadn't have said that, you know what? Just like Black Lives Matter keep popping up every time a criminal gets shot by a white cop, or in certain cases just a criminal gets shot. Criminals doing criminal behavior, armed, they get shot. Or even if they're not armed, driving a car, try to hit a cop. Black Lives Matter is going to support that person, and they're going to rally people up, and they're going to get people angry about it. Full well ignoring what's going on in the inner city, full well ignoring the black-on-black crime in Chicago and around this country, full well ignoring the statistics of gang shootings in the inner city, full well ignoring the fact that cops are not respected, that cops, their recruitment has been destroyed because of leftist recruitment, by recruitment that was governed not by who's the best, but governed by affirmative action. So you have people that should never have been in that job, but because they were a female, or they had dark skin, or there's some other quote-unquote minority, they got the job. And somebody who may have been a black guy, but they wanted a black woman, he was fully qualified. He didn't get the job, but she did because that's what their quota was for. Or a white guy, or Manila skin, whatever you want to call us. They didn't get the job because, not because they weren't qualified, but because they had to have a quote-unquote minority on the job. You see, there's the active group that is covertly and overtly subverting you, dividing you, making you angry, making people see things that are completely skewed because the other group, the citizens of this country, of this globe, refuse, absolutely refuse to step out of their comfort zone and do a little bit of research or go experience life. I challenge you, any of these NFL knuckleheads who took a knee, and anybody else that wants to defend them, I challenge you. Cops don't do ride-alongs pretty much anymore. So do this research, okay? Go take a trip down into the inner city. Go over here to East New York, okay, where it's terrible. Shootings every night. Go to Chicago, into the inner city there. Go to Compton in L.A. Go in there. Put your Gucci purse on, and your whatever the shoes are that people wear with those red bottoms they're always talking about. You're a dude. Wear a nice suit. Have a briefcase, and go take a stroll down through there. See what happens. Right? See what happens. I can guarantee you what's going to happen. You're going to get robbed, potentially raped, maybe even killed. And you know who's going to have to come rescue you in that cesspool? Cops. Putting their life on the line to come in there and get you. Now, when you combine that fact that they do that every day, when you combine that fact with the fact that recruitment based on these leftist ideologies, has created police departments that are less and less qualified. They've dumbed their policies down to where they don't even have realistic policies. Human beings, civilians, won't even help people out on the street because they're afraid of being sued because of attorneys. This is what happens. People are absolutely dependent on the government to live because they've realized, I don't have to work. I can live, kind of a shitty life, but I can live a life and not have to work. And you know what happens? The country becomes weaker and weaker. The number of cops that are bad, and by I mean bad, I'm not talking about nefarious. I'm talking about they're just terrible at their job. The numbers go sky high. Why? Because they recruited people based on the color of their skin, not based on whether or not they were sharp as a tack. Were they former veterans? Do they understand policy? Color of skin, gender. That's why they're hiring them. That's why they're picking them. You look at the policies that have changed to where you can't ask somebody, are you in certain police departments, you can't even ask somebody if they're a citizen or not and ask them for their ID. You have people that literally will argue with a cop simply about giving them their ID. And it ends up they get shot because they try to pull off and almost run over a cop. And they get shot. And then here comes Black Lives Matter. Why does that happen? Bad policy by police departments and people who live and breathe off of the baloney that they're fed by the mainstream media, that cops are out there killing people all over the place. There's an active group that is trying to subvert you. Not trying, they're doing a great job of it. They're putting politicians in place. They're cultivating and raising politicians. These politicians aren't just popping up out of nowhere. Bill Clinton didn't pop up out of nowhere. Barack Obama didn't pop up out of anywhere. Paul Ryan didn't pop up out of anywhere. And on and on and on. They didn't just grow. And all of a sudden, boom, they're just leaders. These are people that were cultivated for the sheer fact of being in government because they will do what they're told. And it's just time for people to start seeing this. Otherwise, stuff like what happened with the NFL this past week is going to get worse and worse. People are going to become more divided and more divided. And eventually what happens is if they back off just a fraction, then what happens? People accept that. And then they'll take it to this extreme next time. And then they'll back it off and you'll accept this. And they'll take it to the extreme there the next time. They'll back it off and now you're over here. I myself have been a victim of racism. I've been a victim of affirmative action. I've been a victim of poverty. But you know what the thing is about me? I don't have a victim mentality. I don't care if somebody wants to choose somebody because their skin is different. I will continue, once I get focused, I will continue to achieve until I get what I want. Period. I will continue to achieve until I get what I want. Until I get what I'm driven to get. I don't care. Really, I don't even care if somebody wants me there or not. If I want it, I'm going to get it. I don't have a victim mentality. I didn't let poverty have a hold on me for my entire life. Doesn't mean that I'm rich now. But you know what it means? I don't use that as an excuse. I don't have a victim mentality. But this country's been taught to have a victim mentality by these active groups. This whole country has a victim mentality. If you want to take a knee with somebody, go walk around your city or your town. Find a woman who's worked all day and she's got kids at home and she's a single mom and she has to go. She's been working two jobs. She's working she's working at two different jobs. She goes from one to the other. She's got to go home and she's got to cook food for her kids. And when they get through eating, she washes the dishes. because they're young or because they got homework. And at the end of the day, she's so tired, she can't even barely bring herself to brush her teeth. She doesn't even have time in the mornings to put makeup on. She goes and collapses in the bed. You want to kneel? Take a knee and pray for somebody like that. Take a knee, pull out your wallet, stand back up, and then give that money to that woman. You want to take a knee for all the people in prayer that are defending your freedoms right now. The people that are putting their lives on the line in the inner city. You want to take a knee? Go to Arlington Memorial. Go there. Take a knee next to the thousands and thousands of graves of people who have died fighting for your freedom. Not even fighting. People who have... Go to a veteran. You see somebody in uniform that's in the airport. Go take a knee and tell them, I'm taking a knee for you. They may say, well, I was never in combat. Say, I don't care. You serve. You took an oath for me. I'm taking a knee for you. This crap about the NFL and the knees and all this stuff is so out of control, folks. And it has nothing to do with patriotism, has nothing to do with freedom of speech. It has nothing to do with oppression in the inner city, has nothing to do with people getting shot. It's funny. Two of the people that are behind this, Colin Kaepernick's girlfriend, who is a Muslim fundamentalist, Linda Sarsour, who's a jihadist, evidently. She wants to be a jihadist in this country. She's evidently best buddies with these two. The same players. Hold on a second. I got to get this dog. He's begging. Here he is. Say hi. Say hi. All right. Get out of here. Hacking up a lung. All right. Sometimes I just got to grab him because he's just going to cry until I pick him up. Unfortunately, he's gotten really old in the past month. We'll see what happens. He's still pushing along, but he's gotten drastically older in the past month. But anyway, so, folks, this NFL nonsense, as I was talking about before, man, our numbers are low tonight, which is in stark contrast to last week. It's interesting. The whole thing is very interesting. The NFL and these people taking a knee, as I was just saying, has nothing to do with what they're claiming that it is. And when I look at the owners coming out and saying what they do, like this communist that owns the Seattle Seahawks, Paul G. Allen, coming out, and this is the NFL, this is the Seahawks statement here. They said, we fully support our players' use of their freedom of speech and peaceful action to highlight. See, okay, if they stopped right there, I would say, I disagree with you. You could have a policy against that. Then whatever, you know, it is what it is. You don't want to cause waves. But then he goes on to say this: peaceful action to highlight the existing racial and other divides in our country. This guy is a multi-millionaire. He doesn't live anywhere close to the inner city. He doesn't know what's causing things in the inner city. He doesn't know one stitch about racial issues in this country. He doesn't know anything about other divides. So I have to think that this individual, based on my training experience as an investigator, that this guy, Paul Allen, dirtbag, I'm not even going to show you what he looks like. He's a dirtbag. He is either a communist, which most likely he lives in Seattle, he probably is, or by the sheer fact of him saying what he said, he is supporting communism because he doesn't care one way or the other. It could be either one of those things. I don't care. As far as I'm concerned, he's a communist or a communist sympathizer. That's it, period. So with the players, it's the same thing. If they want publicity, they need to go get it another way. If they feel that strongly that there's something going on in the inner city, why don't, instead of kneeling, why don't they take the day off and go to the inner city and do a promotion speech where they get all kinds of people out there to clean it up, to build relationships with the cops, to stand against gang members, to do all these. You think cops aren't going out and systematically killing black people. However, gang members are, and black people are. And you don't hear them saying anything about that. You don't hear the NFL players that are Muslim taking going out and standing next to people when they wave the flag and say, "Thank goodness we are American citizens so that we don't have to live under the rule of Saudi Arabia or of the fear that ISIS may behead us because we have wives that are non-Muslim." You don't see that. You're not going to see that. These people are rich. Some of them grew up poor. A lot of them did not. But like lottery winners, if you're trash and you win the lottery, you're going to act like trash when you got the lottery. It doesn't matter. So these people, as this guy goes on and says, our players completely respect the military and veterans of our country. However, they believe these issues need to come to the forefront. Bull crap. It doesn't matter if President Trump had said what he did or didn't. It started with Colin Kaepernick. It was introduced there. ESPN and ABC and NBC and CBS all pumped this up more and more by focusing solely on that individual when he was taking a knee rather than focusing on the flag and the 90,000 people standing together in unity. They didn't focus on that. So this was going to get big no matter what. No matter what, it was going to get big. And so before you go out and criticize the president for calling it what it is, and I love the fact that he doesn't tiptoe around the political lies and we can't say things like that. We have to be above that. Bullcrap. These are the same guys in Washington, D.C. that are going out and sniffing coke, having sex with underage children like Anthony Weiner. Anthony Weiner was a congressman. Don't forget. He ran in circles up there. It wasn't like Anthony Weiner was up in Washington, D.C. all by himself. Okay, Anthony Weiner is a big part of the Democratic Party. His wife is Uma Abedin, introduced by the Clintons, those two. So while President Trump says these things and then they say, well, he shouldn't have said that, that's out of line, he has every right in the world to say that because he is literally calling out a subversive group of people. Whether or not he knows that, I don't know. But he's calling them out and he's making them react, which is awesome because they're highlighting themselves. And that is what you all need to realize. President Trump, when he says what he says and these people react, he is highlighting that group that I told you about, the group that is covertly and overtly trying to subvert this country. They react. They can't not react. They're so full of themselves and pride that they just react. And so you have to realize this. When he does these things, is it unconventional? Yes. Is it the way other presidents have done it? No. But let's be honest, folks. We haven't exactly been batting 1,000 with the presidents that we've hired in this country. We have pretty much had losers as presidents. I'm not going to lie. Even Ronald Reagan, the great communicator, he didn't clean up the inner city. He didn't stop the war on drugs. He didn't even stop the war on terror, which had just began. He was a great communicator. He did a lot of great things, built the military up very strongly. But he didn't stop it. George Bush Sr., 41, he didn't stop it. In fact, he made it worse. Bill Clinton made it worse. George Bush, 43, made it worse. Barack Obama made it worse. And you elected him twice. Now we have a president that doesn't subscribe to one way or the other, and he's catching hell everywhere because he says exactly, he's calling people out. Now, don't get me wrong. I will tell you this about the president. He needs, in my opinion, he needs to clamp his mouth shut and stop projecting what he wants to do to North Korea. Just stop. That is not, I don't want him to be more presidential. I want him to be more tactical. He wouldn't go around giving his business opponents clues about what he's going to do, because then they would do the same thing and they would one-up him. He needs to be thinking that way here. So I will say that I think he needs to clamp it on the, we'll blow him off the face of the earth, or, you know, I don't care about Rocket Man, but, you know, we're going to put all these sanctions on him. He won't be able to afford to do this. We're going to overturn the Iran deal. Don't say it. Those were your words, Mr. President. So I will hold you to task on that. But the fact that you go out and you do call out people like the NFL and the players for the fact that they're being unpatriotic, I think it's great. I think you should go further, do a little bit more studying, and find out that these people are all connected or are supporting communist Marxist groups. And whoever this turd is that said that the president doesn't know what he's going to do until Fox and Friends or Breitbart tell him to do, if that was the truth, idiot, he wouldn't have won the president of the United States. All right? The guy, love him or hate him, is pretty smart and has done a fairly good job in his first 8 months, considering the fact that everybody in Washington, D.C. hates him because he's not a part of that nonsense. I'm not saying the guy's perfect. He's probably one of the only people in Washington, D.C. that I would sit down. He doesn't drink. I'd have a beer with him. Although he doesn't drink, I'll drink the beer. I have no place for his son-in-law. I don't know him. I don't like him. I don't want to get to know him. I don't have any room for his daughter. I don't dislike her, but she doesn't need to be in Washington, D.C. I didn't elect another liberal up there. I elected that guy. That's a problem we have in politics. But I'm going to say it. So before you say stupid stuff like that, you know, that's exactly what I'm talking about here. That is an individual that just said that on Twitter. That is an individual that gets their knowledge of who the president is off of this. That's a person that reads the Huffington Post or the New York Times. New York Times, long history, basically since it almost started, as a funnel for communism and for the communist movement. That's where you're getting your news. CNN, even Fox. You got listen. You have to do research beyond those things. You have to stop believing the personal insult attacks, especially like that nonsense that come from these different news agencies. They're liars. All right. So as far as the NFL goes, here's the thing, folks. I've been getting memes saying that we should protest them on Veterans Day. I've been getting memes saying people that they're not going to watch the NFL anymore. I'm getting all these things. Here's the facts. I remember when I first started doing this show, and I used to tell people, you know, listen, we got to have dialogue before we can have unity. Once we have dialogue and unity, then you can take action. When you go to a football game like the NFL, there's approximately 70, 90,000 people in the stands. It's the only time at these sporting events when the country stands together for the national anthem. They don't do it for school. They don't do it in their jobs. They don't do it. You don't wake up in the morning and pledge allegiance to the flag and pray to God and then go off and do your job. Most people do not do that. But it's a good example when you get people, for whatever reason, convinced to go to a stadium, and you will see the patrioticness that comes out in people. They stand up, they see the flag waving, they see the veterans on the field, maybe somebody standing next to them that has one leg, they see the planes fly over, and it builds a sense of pride and strength and honor of this country and what it takes to survive. And then everybody goes home and they forget about it. The same 90,000 people that stand up in a stadium have the ability to nip this in the bud. They have the ability to stop in an instant this fake protest, this communist protest, these lies about racial divide and so on and so forth. You could stop it in an instant. But protesting on one day, not going to stop it. 90,000 people not showing up at a stadium, that would stop it. Or, even better, 90,000 people start going to NASCAR. Start going to college games. Forget about these pro athletes. Go celebrate the real athletes, the people who do it and don't get paid. Go watch a Pee Wee football game. 90,000 people. Go down there and watch it. Forget about these people. Don't just protest them. Forget about them. This is not Rome. You don't have to go on the weekends and watch this stuff. I know you love it and you get a rise out of it. How about this? How about you write a book about your life or something you know? How about you go off and help somebody that needs something? How about you get up and go do something with your family that you haven't done in a long time? Forget about these people. How about this? Go to church on Sunday. Don't just protest the NFL. Forget about them. Forget about them. That's the ultimate. I want to protest being lazy. You say you want to lose weight, make Sundays your big workout day. Forget about the NFL. You're on a serious diet and you got one cheat day a week, make it Sunday. Go out and eat like crazy. Enjoy the day. I don't care if it's raining or sunny. Find a nice place and go eat. Make it your cheat day. Forget about the NFL. You've been having a problem with depression? Give up the NFL. Make Sunday the day you just get out of your house and you just go somewhere. Doesn't matter where, just go. Just get out of the house. You don't have any money? Start walking. That's what you need to do. Forget the NFL. Forget them. We got to retweet this show. We got to share this show. Hold on a second. I want to see how many shares I've got so far. Let's see here. So 66 shares. There's been, at one point, there was over 100 people watching the show on Facebook and only 66 shares. Right now, there's 76 shares. That number should pop up instantly. You see, this is what I'm talking about, folks. One of the things I was going to do tonight, but I'm not going to do now, I just want to cut it here in a minute. I was going to let just as many people call in and want to talk about the NFL as possible. Maybe I'll do that later this week. But this show is dependent on you all spreading the word. Obviously, Facebook's not going to do it. Twitter's not going to do it. YouTube certainly isn't going to do it. There's nobody. They don't even put this show out. There's only 17 people tuning in on YouTube. Thank you, guys. I'm just not in a good mood today. Obamacare has not been repealed. Because they haven't come up with a good solution for it. I say get rid of the health care bills and just regulate the cost of health. Set up sharing where people can share. There's a whole system, a way that you can invest in health care and get away from insurance companies. Nobody's even exploring that at all. And listen, Here. This is the not really an apology, but Alejandro Villanueva says, "I made my teammates look bad." You see, folks, even veterans can say stupid stuff. Let's see if they got this on here. Hold on. Stand by.
sort of ordeal has been out of control, and I think there's a lot to blame on myself, and I want to address it. So Saturday night, as you guys all know, there was a team meeting that was going to determine what is it that we're going to do as a team. Coach Tomlin gave us the guidance that we had to do it all as one, so 100%, and whatever it is that we had to do. There was a disagreement in what we were going to do, and the only course of action was to go inside and remove ourselves from the situation. It was never to disrespect the national anthem.
Yeah, well, you did.
Every single one of my teammates is extremely supportive and extremely patriotic, in this locker room. And I can not only say that from this locker room, I can say it across the NFL and every single player that I've gone against. After the meeting, based on my unique circumstances and based on the fact that I've served in the Army and that pretty much everything that is my life is related to the military, I asked Ben if there was a way to define the inside or where is it that we were going to stay, and if I could watch the national anthem from the tunnel. And he agreed. He said the captains would be out there right behind me, and so this plan sort of morphed to accommodate this tough moral dilemma that I had in my hands, to where the players could be behind me in the tunnel. Ben Roethlisberger said at 56. Make sure you're out there because the national anthem is going to start at 57. I walked out at 12:56. I asked.
Okay, so far, folks, I got to tell you, this is absolute bullcrap that this guy is saying this. And I can only suspect that the reason he is saying this is because he was oppressed and he was basically chastised for doing what he did. You see, this is what I'm talking about, folks. They talk about these people are kneeling so that they can express their freedom of speech, yet this guy does what he thinks is best. It doesn't matter if you do it and 100 people don't. The fact is he felt the need to go out because he's a veteran, and he goes out and stands there, and now he's apologizing. This is beyond belief.
One of the security guards, when the national anthem was going to start, he said 20 seconds. And so I just walked up, and I stopped as soon as I saw the flag, as soon as I had a vantage point. That to me was enough. There was a flag that was coming in from one of the previous celebrations. And when I turned around to sort of, signal everybody else to come in so they wouldn't leave me alone, then that's when, they were essentially unable to exit. At that moment, it was the decision of, do you walk out of the national anthem and join your teammates? I know that would have looked extremely bad. Or, do you, as a team, do you start moving halfway through the national anthem? So essentially what we can get out of this is that we butchered our plan to sort of have a response for the national anthem and respect everyone's opinions. I would say that my personal thoughts about the situation is that regardless of this plan, very few players knew that I was going to the tunnel because I only asked the team leadership. And so because of that, I didn't give them an opportunity to stand with me during the national anthem. That is the very embarrassing part on my end.
Shouldn't be embarrassed.
Because when everybody sees an image of me standing by myself, everybody thinks that the team and the Steelers are not behind me, and that's absolutely wrong. It's quite the opposite. Is they all would have, actually the entire team would have been out there with me. Even the ones that wanted to take a knee would have been there with me had they known these extreme circumstances that at Soldier Field, at the heat of the moment, when
Soldier Field,
wounded veterans texting me that, that I have to be out there, then I think everything would have been put aside from every single one of my teammates, no doubt. So because of that, I've made Coach Tomlin look bad, and that is my fault.
No, you didn't.
And that is my fault only. I've made my teammates look bad, and that is my fault.
No, you didn't.
My fault only. And I made the Steelers also look bad, and that
no,
is
you
my
didn't.
fault and my fault only. So unwillingly, I've made a mistake.
No, you didn't.
And so I've talked to my teammates about the situation. Hopefully they understand it. If they don't, I still have to live with it because the nature of this debate is causing a lot of very heated reactions from fans, from players, and it's undeserving to all the players.
No, it's not.
From this organization. So with that, I'll open up for any questions.
Sounds good.
Come on, folks. You see the stupidity of this nonsense? this is ridiculous. A veteran can't go out there and stand because the rest of the people on his team wanted to go hide in the locker room, and it was hiding. That's what it is. They didn't want to. They didn't want to split the team up, and some people take a knee, and other people didn't. I guarantee you, this is what it was. The franchise didn't want these guys going out there and taking a knee because they knew they're in Soldier Field. They know that there's probably a lot of patriotic stuff. They knew NFL is going to take a hit. So rather than say, we're all going to go out there and we're going to stand, and that's the way it's going to be. You want to protest on your own time, go do it. You're part of this company. You're not going to lose this company money. If you want to protest, go do it on your own time. They didn't do that. They said, we're all going to retreat to the locker room, and let's take a vote on it, right? That's what you want, right? That's what you're going to do, right? See, I can guarantee that's the way it was. What he just did ruins everything that he did yesterday. Now, he's just another one of them. He just apologized. That'd be the same thing as if he deployed over to Afghanistan and then came back and then went on air and said, I'm sorry I went over there and got into a firefight. I'm sorry that I went over there and represented the United States. I should have stayed back here with all the nonviolent people. That's what just happened. Even veterans can be stupid. You take a great, honorable thing, and then you waste it with that. You see, folks, everybody wants to get rich. Everybody wants to be famous, right? This is what money and fame brings you right here. It brings you compromised values and morals. I'm not saying that everybody that's rich has compromised values and morals, but that's what it'll bring you if you don't stand by what you believe. If I was him, he was beloved yesterday by millions of veterans, by millions and millions of people. But he's going to come up there and he's going to bow down to those other people because they didn't have the guts to do what he did. He said all these people were patriots inside the Steelers. Why didn't you say, no, I didn't sign up for this. I didn't sign up to a company not to have my patriotism, right? And that's something I would have stood for. Or even, look, one of these people says, listen, I want to protest this. And the company says, no, you're not. You're not going to protest this. Not on company time. Then quit or go out in their field. Do it anyway. Let them fire you, right? Whatever, if you want to go that far with it. This is something, if I was an NFL player, I would have said, no. I'm going out on that field and I'm standing with National Anthem. I didn't sign up for this. I didn't sign up to be a part of a company that doesn't like the American flag and what National Anthem stands for. And I'm not going to work for a company that bows to communism and furthers the lie to people. I'm going out there. You can do what you want. These people, everybody gets money. They want more and more and more. These people, forget them. Like I said before, forget the boycotts. Just forget them. NFL is something that you don't need. It's like trying to get rid of sugar in your life. Yeah, it's nice. It makes stuff taste better. But if it's bad for you, get rid of it. Get rid of the NFL. Don't buy into this bull crap that they have. Sorry I used a little dirty language there, but I'm just over it, folks. I'm sick and tired of this nonsense. I'm tired of this active, covert, and overt group. I'm tired of people picking people because they, not picking people based on their qualifications, picking them for other reasons. I'm tired of the backstabbing ways in this country. Let me tell you something, folks. I'll tell you something. In media, they don't care if you're a veteran. No, they don't care. They will choose, which happened at CNN, it's happened at other places, they will choose somebody who has zero experience to come in and give an analysis or host a show over somebody who has real experience and brings real knowledge, understanding, and experience to the table. They will step right around you and let that person host because, one, they're a feminist, or 2, because they're a communist, or 3, because they think that you're not shiny enough, that the American people want something that is prettier than you, or the American people want something that is going to get them riled up. You know, these are games that the media plays with you. It's crap. And it's very interesting to me how the majority of people that run media have never once in their life served. They're not an expert in anything except for showing up to work and giving everybody half of what they could actually have. I'm absolutely sick of it. And you should be too. So, one last time, I'm going to tell you. Forget about boycotting the NFL. Just forget about them. Don't go there anymore. Don't make it one-day event. Forget about it. There's better ways. You are going to be amazed at the other things in your life that you can do that can bring you fulfillment way beyond watching the NFL. You love watching those guys and you get a rise out of it. Hey, listen. Get everybody together and start playing flag football. Start working out together. Increase your physical fitness. Hug a kid that your kids that you haven't hugged in a while. Patch up relationships. Do that thing that you've always wanted to do, but you just never did it. Go do it. I tell you what, Sunday, do this. Go find a scary roller coaster to ride. And then when you get off of it, or when you're on it and you're going over the edge and you're freaking out, ask yourself, what is important to you now? I challenge everybody to do this tonight. I'm going to get back into the ice bath tonight. Starting tonight, I'm going to start doing ice baths again. I'll do an 8-minute cold shower in the mornings, and I'm going to do a 20-minute ice bath 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. 10 minutes sitting down, 10 minutes laying all the way back. I'm going to do that for the next 8 weeks. Do it with me. Not in my bathtub, but do it with me. Commit to something that is uncomfortable. Go beyond waking up on Sundays and doing this nonsense. And here's one more thing I want y'all to do. Hey, let's go to the True Zone. I'll talk about this. How many of you are prepared for an incident like this? Get my new book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival, and I will teach you to think like an attacker so you can truly defend yourself. Don't just react, act. Available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Sheep No More. Get it. Gosh, it feels like Friday. What does it say when it's a Monday and it feels like a Friday? Folks, listen. Here's what I want you to do. This is the goal of the CQRF, the Constitutional Quick Reaction Force, as of tonight. I want you to take a piece of paper, just like this, okay? And I want you to write on that piece of paper things that you've never done in your life that you want to do. Do you want to write a book? Listen, if I wrote a book, it's not impossible. Do you want to start being a morning person? I'd like to do that. Get up and start being a morning person. Do you have goals and aspirations that you've never achieved? Do you want to, like I'd love to go to school and become a paramedic qualified. Not because I want to be a paramedic, I just want that qualification. Write that down. Start writing down the things that you have never done that you want to do with your life. Make a list. Then turn that sheet sideways. Make the list like this. Then turn it sideways. And then write yourself out a timeline. And then choose. I'm going to do it here. I'm going to do this here. I'm going to do this here. and make it happen. Because, folks, we're having a debate, and people are up in arms about a group of millionaires that will never, ever, ever do anything personally for you. They will never do anything for you. These are people that don't care about the inner city. They don't care about service to this country. They don't care about the national anthem that's being played. They don't. If you're black, they don't care about you. They're not going to go and try to mend the rift between cops and the inner city. They're not going to stand up against the gangs with you. When you have a funeral because your child has been shot in the head from a drive-by shooting, they're not going to come to your funeral. I can guarantee you that. Take the piece of paper. Write the things that you have never done in your life and that you want to do. Write down the people that you haven't talked to in a long time that you want to say hello to. And then turn that sheet sideways, write a timeline, and get it done. Stop wasting your time on the NFL. Stop wasting your time on this divisive nonsense that you've been sold and you've bought. You are free. I can't say that enough every single day. You are free people. You have the ability to be whatever you want, the best that you can be. Nobody's going to hold you back. People may get in your way, but there's nobody holding you back. Only you can hold yourself back. Stop wasting time. You may die tomorrow. You may die 40 years from now. Stop wasting time. The NFL. Give me a freaking break. I'm Jonathan Gillum. Old Rico's down there asleep. This is The Experts. You're an American citizen. Make the most of every day, every hour, every minute, every second, and always seek the truth. I'll see you tomorrow. How many of you are prepared for an incident like this? Get my new book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival, and I will teach you to think like an attacker so you can truly defend yourself. Don't just react, act. Available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Sheep No More. Get it.